Mark chapter 9, 17 and 18. We're just investigating the story of Jesus casting out this evil spirit out of this boy. And he just makes his little tiny aside. He says, this kind can only come out with prayer and fasting. What do you think about that? It's like a throwaway line, and it comes as we're thinking, it comes at the bottom of the picture. You remember the picture that Raphael painted of the glory of Jesus revealed at the top of the picture and the suffering of man at the bottom of the picture. And Jesus basically is Lord over both. The mountaintop experience and the valley of despair. So now we go into the valley of despair. This man brings his son. I brought this boy along in order that you might heal him. I came to your disciples and they could do nothing. They tried and they failed. Jesus asks a few questions. He sees a crowd coming, and so he moves into action. He quickly, briskly, decisively casts the demon out, tells it not to come back again. It's done. And then he makes this remark. They say, well, Lord, why did we fail? Why did we fail? We've done this before, this kind of thing. Why did we fail? And Jesus says, this kind only comes out with prayer and fasting. Now, it's kind of like where we are today, isn't it? Without wishing to be negative, the church often has little to brag about, doesn't it? It's the society we live in today is very different to the society I grew up in as a boy all those years ago. And I don't want to whinge, but it's true. Things have changed. And the church tries like crazy, all these techniques and things, and with sometimes little effect. And maybe the word comes, yeah, but this is a different kind. We're facing a different problem here. This kind only comes out with different resources. And you have to admit that many of the techniques that the church uses fail. We feel like we're the disciples who say, what do we do? What do we do? We want to get it right. What's the explanation of the situation? And Jesus says, this is a different kind of problem to one that you've faced before. As I said, they'd faced this kind of thing before, so maybe they were a little bit cocky. Oh yeah, here we go. You know, they've done it before. And Jesus gently rebukes them. And so they thought, well, no problem. But it didn't work. The things that they brought to the problem didn't work. There's a difference between, you might say, this kind and the kind you've dealt with before. It's the same devil, but there are different things going on. There's different hierarchies, different pictures. Jesus is saying, you are out of your depth. I remember reading Martin Lloyd-Jones saying, he was a medical doctor, and he was saying the first thing a doctor has to do is get the diagnosis right. There's no point treating the wrong disease, right? The disciples didn't know the kind of thing that they were dealing with. And sometimes in our Christian life we rush into activities and ways of doing stuff, the latest fad, the latest type of meetings or schemes, without adequately analysing the kind of thing that we're up against. And we could use famous methods because they've been seen to work somewhere else, been powerful. And without doing the hard work of waiting on God and asking Him to tell us what to do. This kind only comes out with prayer and fasting. Maybe the problems that face our generation are different from anything that's ever come this way before. Well, that is true. It must be so. You think, people say, if only we had another Wesley. But Wesley was dealing with an England. The biggest city was like the size of like Wellingborough today. There's only like one or two big cities. And the rest of it was just fields, man. It was a rural community, by and large. Or even you think of the way that Billy Graham preached in the 1950s. It's a different world to the one that we live in today. You cannot assume that people have even a basic background knowledge of the Bible. This is a different kind. And we come to Jesus, we come to the Lord and we say, well, why doesn't it work? Why don't these tried and true techniques work? And he said, it's a different kind. But the first thing is that I have to go to him. I have to go to him. Lots of things might be under threat, like the authority of the scriptures, the concept of theology as a university discipline. Lots of things are under threat. But one thing is absolutely mandatory. And that is that if you're a Christian, then Christ is your Lord and you go to him. He said, bring him to me. We have things to deal with that no generation has had to deal with before. The very category of morality is under threat in our generation right now. The very concept of like celebrity, the scale of materialism, of consumerism, it's at a different pitch than it's ever been before. It's a different kind of thing that we have to deal. Maybe we fail because we don't have the basis of success. And the basis of success, Jesus puts into two words. He says prayer and fasting. And that means, it doesn't mean a mechanical activity. It means an intense, personal walk with God. The only thing we have to offer the world around us is our intimacy with God. If we lack that intimacy, we have nothing to say. We can be as brainy as anything. We can be as powerful. We can be as charismatic. We can be as handsome. Nothing will figure. Nothing will work. It's a different kind. Do you hear me? And God is looking for people who will spend time with him so that he can work through them. God bless you.